was a whole thing that almost didn't happen. And I was stressed because that was like our one thing
Yeah.
that was going to be
Yeah,
different
yeah.
from everything else. And the police showed up. No one got arrested. We didn't get in trouble. But one of the things they were confused about was, whoa, what's going on? What are you guys doing? Oh, no, we're just having fun. Yeah, but what is that? So at this point, we start telling people like, hey, just spread out. We have the picture. We have the evidence. Let's just distract the cops and go. So
Francisco, glad you're able to join us this morning.
So excited to be here. Love El Zonte.
Yeah, love to jump into your Bitcoin journey. But first, you told me that we've met before, and so I your face looks familiar, but I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to place it. So you're gonna have to catch me up. I'm getting old, so my memory's going.
Nah, I'm pretty excited actually to be having this conversation with you, Mike, because I feel like in this space, you're right. We see faces, and then we see them again and again and again.
Well, sometimes you see them on Twitter, and then you can't remember. You're like, did we meet in real life, or did we just? Sometimes I think I've met somebody, and they're like, no, we've only interacted on Twitter. So,
and yeah, that's true. And to bring it full circle into what's happened in the last couple of years between the work you guys have done here in El Zonte and in the space, really, in 2021. Which was, I still think it was one of the most magical years for Bitcoin and for building. I went to the Fold party with one of my best friends, and I didn't know anybody in the space. It was just a Bitcoin pleb, excited to be around Bitcoiners, and I had a conversation with Peter McCormack, who was really, he was awesome. Just his podcast.
Yeah.
So to say hello to him and have him be so welcoming was cool. And then I asked him, I said, hey, so what is happening in El Salvador exactly? Because at the time it was still only with a small niche. And he goes, oh, no, you don't have to talk to me. I just flew out there. Let me introduce you to Mike. So he grabs me and he you're actually surrounded by a bunch of people because I think a documentary had just come out from Peter's visit.
Okay.
And, you gave me a hug and you said, oh, you have to come out. Great things are happening.
This was at the Fold party?
At the Fold party. Yeah. Oh,
I don't even remember being there, and I don't even drink. So yeah, that's yeah.
It goes deeper than that. The Fold party, I was also so
was
we
that
chatted.
in Miami?
It was in Miami. They called it Miami, but it was Wynwood.
Okay.
It was that first one.
Okay.
Where they had it was a sailor. The first time sailor came to a Bitcoin conference, and basically your invitation was you have to come out. You have to see it for yourself. And you're welcome, and very friendly. So although we hadn't had a sit down, this is really fun to be here.
Okay, so you finally made it down then.
So we made it down, and this studio you have is beautiful. So again, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
That same Fold party, by the way, first time meeting Max and Stacy, and Paco too.
Okay.
Shout out to Paco in the back. Same thing, super friendly. I mentioned to Max my Bitcoin journey, which I guess I can jump in, in a few seconds.
Yeah.
But gave me a hug, recorded a video, sent it to my dad.
Hey guys, just a brief interruption. We'll get back to the exciting show here, but I just want to really ask a favor that you guys could make sure that you're subscribed if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are listening to this on a podcast, please take a second and review this. You don't even have to write a lengthy review or anything at all. Just click the number of stars that you want to give us. It really helps us in the algorithms to make sure people are finding out about what's happening here. All right, back to the show.
I was just giddy to be around, all of these awesome people.
Is your dad a Bitcoiner also?
He is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that Fold party was really, really, really special. It was something that I think it changed the next years into my life, even as of today, right? So that's how we met, and I have not forgotten it. So being here is pretty cool. This time around, I've been to San Salvador or El Zonte. I think this is my 4th time.
Okay.
But this is the first time I bring family. I have my wife, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, father-in-law. So
and most of them are surfers too,
yes.
right? Yeah.
So they're enjoying this. It's special, man. It's special.
You brought your own crowd with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your Bitcoin journey. What brought you to be there in Wynwood and at that party, and then I know you guys have been building ever since. So
That's right.
how did that come about?
So going back to my dad, I think a lot of us of a certain generation, let's call ourselves young. I still consider myself a little on the younger side, millennial, right?
You're young. You're young.
We're trying to convince our parents on why Bitcoin. And I talked about this, with other people. My journey is very different because it was actually my dad who, and this is where it always kills me. In 2013, my dad said, "Hey, son, there's this thing I keep reading about. It's called Bitcoin and cypherpunk movement. I think we should spend some time and understand it." And the first reaction was, just forget about it. It's gonna be some sort of scam. Just please don't. Like, almost don't bother me.
Yeah.
So he was patient with me. 6 months go by. Hey, I know that you're not into it, but I keep reading about it, and I think it's gonna be the future. I don't understand a lot of it, but I need your help. Same thing. Anyways. So a whole year went by, and
Just for context for me, now, is your dad based in Mexico or in the U.S.?
so we were born in Mexico,
Uh-huh.
and most of our lives, I was born and raised there. I live currently in Austin, Texas.
Okay, and your dad?
My
also?
dad lives in Utah.
Okay.
Yeah, so my
okay.
family moved to
Okay.
Utah eventually. So yeah, we're at this point we're all in the States.
Okay.
So he has this kind of exposure, and maybe a whole year, possibly more, right? He says, "You know what? That's okay. You don't have to invest or buy it, but at least help me get some, just a little bit. And one thing I would ask of you is, there's this guy I've been following. He's definitely very energetic. He's different, but just give him a shot." He's talking about Max Keiser. So he sends me a link. At the time, it was the Keiser report. So I give him a shot, and boy, was he right. I watched a couple of clips and I thought, man, this guy he's something else.
Yeah.
But he's smart. He understands finance because of his background in New York. And I think once that happened, the interest started. So we did buy a little Bitcoin, and a little at the time it's meaningful today. And nothing really.
So was this still like you had to get it from Mount Gox? Like, what was the process of getting Bitcoin to that? Because I was following it along that time, but every time I looked, and I read, it was like such a complicated process, and I'm like, I don't understand what they're talking about your keys and all this stuff, and even if I'm able to buy it, for sure I'll never be able to access it. So I'm just curious at that point, what was the process?
You're actually very right. It was very difficult to even know where to buy it, how to buy it, what does it mean. There's this huge address with numbers, and I mean it was very scary. A combination of Mt. Gox, but then by the time we bought the first little bit, I believe Coinbase had been a startup at the time, before they got into everything else, right? They were at core a Bitcoin company, and it was an experiment. Okay, let's buy a little. You buy a little. I think he even said, "I'll buy a little for you since you don't trust in this." But it really was that Max Keiser seed that continuing the
It's amazing how many people come on this podcast that Max Keiser was their entry point. I mean, seriously, I feel like half the people I interview especially the people that got in fairly early, it was always Max.
Yeah. And I really wish I would have listened to my dad. I mean, that's kind of how the journey goes, right?
Yeah.
I've had this conversation with Max too, at that Fold party, and then at other events. Just the gratitude of, man, I'm so glad you're so crazy about this, because if it wasn't for your passion towards the future of money, we wouldn't really be in this opportunity, in this position to have the opportunity. But okay, so get into it. It's exciting. It's fun. And then I think 2021, again, not the Fold party itself, but 2021 was pretty special. The Jack Mallers announcement with Bukele, I honestly, and I think I still have it recorded somewhere, it was just, my whole body was just, I just felt that I needed to do something in the space, and I didn't know what it was going to be. I just felt that meeting people like you and Max and Stacy and really everybody else, Will from Fold, people were just welcoming and supportive, and Bitcoin's the future, and just again, not just the purchase, but being there.
And what, just curious, what was your like work background at that time? What were you doing?
I I was responsible for the go-to-market strategy. For my background is in tech,
Okay.
for SaaS platforms. So I've opened market for in LATAM for 3 different startups now. Social media analytics, social media listening, very fiat. At one point, I worked in the CSR space, again, also very fiat. And prior to that, I also did. I worked for a payment card industry company, super fiat. All of my background has been
But you were fairly technically adept. You understood the technical side of it.
correct.
Unlike me.
Yeah, but what you've done here is pretty. I mean, it's amazing what you've done here. It's one of a kind, really. But yeah, I mean, with that background, I and one of the reasons why it was Bitcoin was because I did have that opportunity to open market for multiple companies in Latam. You have that in your background, or at least that
Yeah.
feeling of, I've done this for other companies. I have to do it for me and for my country if I can help in any way. But I didn't know what it was gonna be. Like, just no idea. And then Jack Muller's, Bukele, everyone goes wild. I just knew. I don't know what it's gonna be, but something has to happen in the next little bit, the next couple of months. With a really supportive wife, I came home and I said, "Hey,
You need that, because if you don't have that, especially when you're doing something entrepreneurial, because it's a lot of risk,
yeah.
it's a lot of sacrifice, and so it definitely you want to have your wife on board.
You understand it."
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, because you guys have been here for 20 years.
Yeah,
so-
we've been here, but also I've had my own business.
Yeah.
I've never worked for anybody else. I've
Wow.
always had my
Wow.
own business, and so so I definitely understand the weight that comes with that, and not knowing if you're, especially in the early days when you're building, you're putting everything back into it, and it's sometimes you're working 48 hours straight without sleeping to like get something done, something nobody else would do. You can't ask your employees to do it, so you like step in and do it. So yeah, I definitely get that.
You said something that I think, yeah, it hits close to the individual journey of the time, where at one point she did say, "So you don't really have a schedule. Like, sometimes you're just working really, really late, and sometimes you're working on the weekends or a holiday." And yeah, that conversation is very true. I really want to do this. So to have that support was massive. I mean, really very important. And the patience, because like, as you said, there could be the work ethic, but then how long is it gonna take before there's an idea, and then someone else trusts that idea, and then if that idea becomes an MVP for our case, because we do have an app, and then is it gonna be adoption? Are you gonna earn the trust of investors? It's so many things that I hadn't really done in the past that I've learned over time with the help of Bitcoiners, but also just from just I guess from experience and intuition, which so far has been positive. Yeah.
So you came from this idea, and then where is the journey kind of come from there?
Yeah. So come back from Bitcoin conference, tell my wife I want to build in Bitcoin, and of course the question is, what are you gonna do? I don't really know, but Austin seems to be a really great Bitcoin hub, at least for the US, and the impact it has globally. I think it's been well documented. She had an opportunity to work in Austin as well, so we moved.
So not only are you like leaving stable work, starting a company, but you're uprooting her and moving her. That's
Yeah, the support is, yeah, it's been incredible, and not just that, having her be supportive of all those decisions. She's okay. We're in Austin now, so what's next? And you might be aware, but there's a Bitcoin Commons. That's where Unchained building is. So
yeah, I've never actually visited. It's on my list, but
you have to come, right?
I know they're doing really cool things there.
when you come, you're gonna be very, very, very well received. You have a lot of fans. In
No,
Austin.
it's on my list for sure.
Yeah, let me know when you do, and
Okay.
we'll make sure that you're taken care of. So get to the Bitcoin Commons. They have a monthly Bitcoin club. So go to that, start connecting with people, and the same type of friendliness was, it was very apparent that, oh, you're here. Why are you here? I want to build something in Bitcoin. And what is it? I don't really know. Oh, so you need to find a co-founder. Okay, cool. So keep going to the meetups. Then I came across Pleb Lab. I don't know if you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Okay. Pleb Lab at the time also was just starting. They wanted to be co-working for Bitcoiners / accelerator, but they're still trying to figure out their image. So we click. They invite me to be part of their group, and it was actually through Pleb Lab and through Austin community, Bitcoin community, that I met the person who is now my co-founder, also Mexican, living in Mexico. But we met because of Bitcoiners in Austin.
Really?
So yeah,
So he was in Austin.
He's in Mexico.
No, but did you meet in Austin, or how
Nope.
did you connect?
We met
Like online, or how did
online.
you?
Yeah,
Okay.
just an email introduction.
Okay.
So, oh, you're Mexican. You're trying to build something. You should talk to this other Mexican who I know is very good. He's a great developer. He has a background in the space. You guys talk and maybe figure something out. So this introduction happens. He's actually here too. He's in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we're the whole gang is here.
Awesome.
So we have this initial call, and I tell him, I say, hey, I want to build something in Mexico. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. It seems that the exchange will probably be the first place to start. I just need someone who can develop, and I can do all of the commercial marketing operation side. And he says, that's crazy. I've been thinking about doing this too, but I don't want to do everything you just mentioned. So it was a good match. And at that point, we get together, and it's still the dream phase, right? Because this is 2022. When we at the end of 2022 when we met, and we didn't have anything. We didn't have an application. We didn't have a team. We didn't have money. It's just two Mexicans wanting to build something for Mexico and potentially LATAM. And the fastest thing we could think of to generate momentum and test a few ideas was, let's do a Bitcoin only conference. But because it's so small, we don't really understand the Bitcoin community in Mexico. Let's call it a Bitcoin block party, which Austin has had in the past. So we can probably do something like that. If we have 50 people, that'll be great. And then let's do something fun. Let's do something exciting. And the idea that came up at the time, this is now 2023.
Okay.
So we organized the party for 2023. We invited Bitcoiners, local, but also we posted it on Twitter, wherever we could spread the word.
So do you know Lorena that has the Bitcoin embassy there?
Yeah.
Okay. Was she involved with that at all? Or?
We invited her as a speaker. She was very, she was super helpful.
Yeah.
We used her space at the time for satellite
Lorena's
events.
amazing.
She's really cool.
We went and visited her. They've closed it down now, but we went. I think that was back in 21.
Okay.
We flew up there. My wife and kids
Okay.
flew up to Mexico, and I think for my daughter's birthday, we decided to go to Mexico City.
So you had a chance to see Bitcoin Embassy.
Yes, we got a chance to see Bitcoin Embassy. It might have even been earlier than that. Might have been 21. It was very early.
I think the space.
We have a picture of ourselves there and the family. Yeah.
Oh man, I think it was open for 5 years or so.
Yeah,
5,
I'm
6
not
years?
sure. I know I think closed down last year.
Yeah.
I think she was really wrestling with that, but I think after COVID, it really.
I think
hit
it was
them,
tough. But we did do a satellite.
So we might have
event.
been there pre-COVID. Yeah, it might have even been earlier. Yeah, maybe it was 19 that we were there.
I think I think Max and Stacy might have gone to the embassy bar at one point.
Oh,
too.
really?
Yeah.
Okay,
In the early days.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive. We can always check on YouTube, but Lorena was great. We used the space for I think 2 days in a row pre-conference, and it wasn't really a gimmick. It was more of a dream to just do this. We had seen online that a few people in different parts of the world had flashed the Bitcoin symbol into central banks. I think at the time there had only been 2 that had done it. Central banks, because it's been done in buildings, but central banks only 2. I think the European Central Bank and I think the one in London. So we thought, oh man, we're gonna have people from different parts of the world to come. Small conference, by the way. It was about 100, 110 tops. But we gotta do something different. And we cannot advertise it online because if we do, we're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
But we had to pull this off. we have to flash the Mexican Central Bank, which is spot in the middle of downtown Mexico. That's a whole big story we can talk about sometime. But the people that came to the
I think we have some.
let's see.
We have it
Yeah.
on the clip up there. We'll watch this little video there. So
Yeah, it was Fix the Money, Fix the World, and the Bitcoin symbol.
So did you were you able to get out of there without any issues, or did the police show up? Or
The
what
police did show up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the police did show up. Speaking of Lorena, she was there too.
Okay.
We probably had a group of at that specific event or the flashing of the bank, 25 to 30 people that showed up, and it was a whole deal because it's a very heavy transit area in downtown Mexico City. So it's not like you can just get out and pull out a projector and do that. We had to get a vehicle to do that, and then we had to plug cables.
The power
feeding it off from the car's battery into it was a whole thing that almost didn't happen, and I was stressed because that was like our one thing that was going to be different from everything else. And the police showed up. No one got arrested. We didn't get in trouble, but one of the things they were confused about was, whoa, what's going on? What are you guys doing? Oh no, we're just having fun. Yeah, but what is that? So at this point, we start telling people like, hey, just spread out. We have the picture, we have the evidence. Let's just distract the cops and go. So no one ended up in handcuffs.
I love that. So you guys had that conference, and I'm sure you met a lot of cool people during that conference that
Definitely.
were in the space.
Definitely. And something that was cool at that event where the number of Mexicans that came that not necessarily were Bitcoiners, but there was an interest in what we were potentially doing. So, hey, what are you guys building? Oh, we think we're going to build an exchange. Okay, what else can you do? Because there's exchanges already in the world, right? And that's when we knew that we had to do something else. It's not just an exchange, which in Mexico there's a really large exchange that handles all of Latam.
Bitso?
Yeah. So they're based out of Mexico.
Yeah.
But they do all of Latam.
Yeah, I met I'm trying to remember their names, but I think both the principals of that have been in El Salvador. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. And we've talked to them.
Yeah.
They're super nice. And I think that
But they're definitely not Bitcoin only.
they're not.
Have,
The value they have given in different stages has been great. I don't think it's a spicy take. I think it's realistic to say that there hasn't been a Bitcoin only exchange that serves Mexicans. That's our goal. We still have a lot of work to do, but we think of YoPaki as a place where Mexicans get their Bitcoin, and for everything else, sure. Yeah, I mean, go your way, right? I'm not gonna tell you. I can try and educate you on how to do this. But from the conference, we did have the questions of a lot of people still don't understand what this is. And I mean, sometimes people don't think it's fun. You need something that's going to bring just the interest of the population. So it took a while to really say what is it that we're gonna build with that. And are you familiar with a game called Lotería?
No.
Mexican Lotería. So Lotería is
I mean, other than just it's lottery, but I don't know of a game called Lottery.
Yeah. So the game Lotería is like bingo.
Okay.
Right? And so this right here is it's actually the exact same logo of the Mexican Lotería that has been used for decades, but we have a Bitcoin twist to it. And this is where I get nerdy with I didn't even know the history of Lotería. So bingo, but with images. Now, the origins of Lotería go back all the way to the 14th century. So only the royalty played this game, right? It started in Italy. Then the Spaniards adopted the game in around 17th century. And then Spain conquered the Americas, starting with Mexico. They bring this game, but again, this is just the royals in the 18th century. Now, fast forward, eventually Mexico becomes independent, and the people that had access to the game were originally just the military. So during the Civil War in Mexico, when the soldiers went out, they gave them this game, right, just of the images. And when they came back from the war, they started sharing it with their families. That's when it really takes off. Like everybody in the country, I would say 100%, but 99.99% knows what this game is. The Catholic Church used it to teach Christian concepts at one point for people that couldn't read. So they would just show what a cross is, what the sacrament is, and things of that nature. Then fast forward into the 50s, 60s, a French immigrant that moved to Mexico to start a cannery company. That's the person that really commercialized it. So he started advertising his products on Lotería. So the peas, the corn, the tomato, and that's actually the original version of the current logo. It's worked for many years. Google used the campaign. Apple has used the campaign. So we thought, if everybody has used it, it's time for Bitcoin to have a shot at it. So we've given it different Bitcoin memes, jokes. There's also, I don't know if we can run through a video here on.
Can you throw that video up, Paco?
So this is our app. This right here is our board, and each player has a different board. Now, if I go to cards that have been drawn throughout the week, we have a shout out here to La Bitcoin Beach, El Zonte. So at the end of the day, this is meant to be fun, but also to get people familiarized with what Bitcoin is, without having the struggle of decentralization and all of those other topics that some people really don't care about. For those players that have a card that matches, we award them 100 sats. So anyone can play, anyone can get 100 sats. And then we take them to an education journey where, if you want to learn more about what Bitcoin is, here's some 101. We've given you sats. Now you can transfer those sats into a wallet. So the whole thing is, it's more of a journey of, okay, so you don't care too much about Bitcoin. You think it's too complicated. Well, here's a game. You like games, right? Yeah. Okay, well, play the game. And here's sats. Oh, what is a sat? Oh, a sat is a fraction of a Bitcoin. Oh, how much is it? It's little, but if you play it every day, or if you refer your family and friends, you can start stacking more. Oh, that's cool. And what can I do with this? Oh, funny you ask. So you can actually transfer it to a wallet within the app. Okay, cool, I did that. And now what can I do with it? In our case, here being in El Zonte, we can spend it. We can buy pupusas, we can buy drinks, we can buy breakfast, we can, anything. Not in all of El Salvador, unfortunately, but in El Zonte, it's been a great experience. And that's originally that was one of the things that really clicked with a lot of people. The idea of, it's not just an exchange to buy and sell Bitcoin, but onboarding through culture and through fun, gamification.
No, I love that idea.
Yeah. So we, and at some point we do owe you, we couldn't get it in time. We wanted to bring you a shirt with Bitcoin Beach card. So
that would have been sweet.
Yeah.
Next time.
Next time, Mike.
So you guys have launched the wallet already? Like it's out and in use?
It's out. It's live on iOS. As of right now, we have a little bit short of 3,000 active users, and it'll be available on Android by the end of next week.
Okay. I'm curious as to why you guys launched on iOS first, because it would seem like in Mexico that there would be more Android users than iOS users.
Very
Apple
true.
Users.
And not just in Mexico. So we actually launched in 31 countries.
Okay.
So right now, there's features.
I'm guessing not the U.S.
The U.S., yes, but there's features that are not available.
Okay.
Depending on the jurisdiction.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a great point.
Usually it's like available everywhere except Iran, North Korea, and Venezuela. The U.S.
Yeah.
So.
We depending on the jurisdiction, the capabilities of the app do change.
Okay.
So, for example, for Mexican nationals, we can send money or Bitcoin, and they can just receive pesos into a Mexican bank account.
Okay.
That feature is only available for Mexico. The buy and sell is also tricky because of what you mentioned. The U.S. has very strict laws. So does Mexico. So there's ways that we have to advertise our product.
But can people buy Bitcoin through the app in Mexico?
In Mexico, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can link from their bank account.
That's another good question.
Okay, yeah.
So in Mexico, there's something called a FinTech law. So we can offer that. The onboarding experience for Mexicans, it's easy, but it's not as easy as it is for a U.S. national. Here you can just connect. I mean, even with the, I guess, the regulatory aspects being challenging, it's relatively easy to plug into Strike and River and all these exchanges and just buy. In Mexico, we have to do a few circles around
Okay.
to really get into it.
Walk me through the onboarding experience for somebody who's played the game with the app. They've kind of started to go down the rabbit hole, and they're like, okay, I want to get some of my money out of pesos into Bitcoin. What can they do that directly through your app? Do they have to use an exchange and then send it to the wallet? What is the route for them?
If I'm a Mexican national, I log into YoPaki. We do KYC. That's the game we have to play. I know that, for some people it's terrible, but we have to do that. Our customers have to buy through stablecoin, and then the stablecoin buy the Bitcoin. Once they have the Bitcoin, they can off-ramp it in any way they desire.
So they buy stablecoin through you guys?
Yes.
Okay. So you can't go directly into Bitcoin. And that's because
That is
of
correct.
the law?
It is the law. We are in the process of getting to that direct place. It's going to take a couple of months. I mean, if everything goes the way we anticipate, we're thinking 5 to 6 months from now, where Mexican users can directly plug their Mexican peso account.
Okay.
And this is something that has been challenging for many, because I think Mexico is a pretty obvious choice for a lot of Bitcoiners when they think, oh, let's expand. Oh, Mexico, right? But then we, including myself, we find out that, oh, Mexico is a beast.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to get in. I've talked about this with other founders, other U.S.
Well, I think that's one reason that Bitso has been so successful is because they started early, and then all the regulatory things kept competition out, and so they've kind of had the market to themselves.
100%. 100%. In fact, Bitso was an aid, if not the main party responsible for writing this FinTech law. This FinTech law is the equivalent of, are you familiar with the BIT license that they have in New York?
Yeah.
And then there's the MTL license, the money transmitter license in the US. So the FinTech law is the equivalent of both.
Okay.
But it works for the whole country. We don't have to get regulated per state. So once we have that, the entire country can be on board.
But very challenging to get through the
Extremely
process.
challenging.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name names, but there's U.S. exchanges that have jumped into that opportunity, and they realized, wow, this is going to take too long. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
And we understand it. My co-founder and myself, we understand why it is such a. It's a game of knowing the right people, having the right team, the time. Any company that were to start that process today will probably take about 2 years to get it.
Yeah.
If they get it. Fortunately for us, we've been doing this now for a while. We did know the challenges ahead, so 5-6 months should be a good spot for us.
Okay.
And to your point, it connects directly to Mexican peso account.
But right now people are able to offboard directly.
Correct.
They're just not able to onboard directly.
You got it. You got it.
And what stable coin do you guys use?
It's just USDT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which seems outside the US, that's definitely the go-to.
That's the norm.
Yeah. So curious with the announcement that just happened, a couple days ago of them moving USDT to Tether. I mean, not to Tether, to Lightning.
To Lightning.
Just curious as to how that plays into what you guys are doing.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah,
it's gigantic. I mean, for obvious reasons, for us, just selfishly, Lightning is very important.
Yeah,
because we're still limited on the things we can do. Our wallet. So, for example, it's powered by Breeze. So we have a collaboration partnership with Breeze. They've been amazing, and
so they handle like all the channel management and all of that.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's actually a great point. So our users, because we're really trying to onboard a lot of people that haven't really dealt with this, it's difficult to just say, oh, now let me teach you how to channel or how to manage your channel. They don't care about that.
Yeah.
They just want to go and go pay for things.
So is YoPaki a non-custodial wallet, or is it a custodial? It's non-custodial.
Correct.
Okay. Because of that partnership with Breeze.
That is correct.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. In fact, full disclosure about family, not everybody in my family, although I have a place in the space, has actually used Bitcoin to pay for things.
Yeah.
And over this last couple of days for Plan B conference, I had my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, my wife see it in action for the first time.
Because they came to the conference?
Because they came to the conference, yeah. So just there's a difference between telling them,
Yeah.
hey, this is what happens
Yeah,
when I go to
yeah,
El
yeah.
Zonte and we're paying with Bitcoin, and to them it's just, oh, that sounds cool. Like, no, like people really are taking it. So during the conference, there's a side event that Muzz and other musicians in the space organized, the Satoshi Rokamoto,
Yeah.
and then just buying food. This was the first time I said, hey, so now you have a YoPaki wallet, test it. What do I do? Just go up to a person and make a payment. And I think we have a clip about this too.
With YoPaki?
Yeah. Okay, here we have Mikel in El Salvador. She's gonna make a payment with YoPaki wallet. So show us what you're gonna do.
Is this her first time that she's using
This is
it?
her first time.
Okay.
Swedish man with the hat. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We will be with you momentarily. We've just managed to blow an amp. But fortunately,
That's it.
there is always a plan B.
Thank you.
We're just working through it.
Yeah,
By
so
the way,
easy.
where is Roger?
I hear in the
Where's
background
man
them
that
saying they blew their amp.
You heard that?
Yeah.
I couldn't. That actually did happen. Yeah, we were there. Oh wow, we didn't catch that the first time. That's funny. So that moment right there, Mike, I think again, full circle from being in Bitcoin 2021, wanting to do something in the space, fast forward a couple of years and have family use our app to pay for things in El Salvador, because
Yeah.
that was in San Salvador. That to me that was really special. It was really cool to be able to share, hey, this is what we've done, and there's so much more to do. But going back to the non-custodial part, the onboarding has always been challenging. I think we've all noticed this. We're not. I don't think we have it perfect, but we're trying different things. We're playing with culture. We're having fun with it, making that fun transferable into a wallet, and then have it be spendable. I think that journey is important, and I know it changes from country to country. Something Chimbera is really good at, because I've heard him talk about this multiple times, is the ideology of a US Bitcoiner of save, money goes up, which is, it's great. But then a Salvadoran or a Mexican who, it's not about saving, it's just about surviving and paying.
Having money that works for
Having
you.
money that works.
Yeah.
Prior to this payment, my sister-in-law and a friend went grocery shopping here in El Salvador, and they had not used the Lightning wallet at this point. They're trying to make a payment, and one of the cards didn't work. Second card didn't work, and then by the third time, we said, okay, we'll just pay for you, and then we'll settle it later. We get back to the Airbnb.
You guys should have paid in Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly.
If you were at the supermarket,
and it was Super Selectos.
Yeah,
Yes,
they
Super
take
Selectos.
Bitcoin.
And that was the first time that I said, okay, you have to get the app and you have to pay in Bitcoin. So they're talking to their bank, telling them, hey, I'm in another country, please allow my payment to go through. I think for them, this is not even me trying to convince them as to why it's important. It was the moment of, oh wow, you're right. Why do I have to ask my bank for permission to use my money? So
Well, and that's the worst. You're like in line and like, and
the line.
all your groceries there,
Yeah.
and everybody behind you is like, what's going on? And you're like, your credit card's been shut down, and
Yeah, no, and you're right, because it was actually a really long line. And to have that frustrating moment, they even gave each other a high five at some point because they thought the third card worked and it didn't. Then go back and call the bank. It's for someone like that, because they're younger than me, they've never thought of, oh yeah, it's my money. I want to use it. So why do I have to call someone and say, hey, I'm in another country, can I please use my money? We don't have that issue with Bitcoin. So that part, the permissionless, I think, clicked. But then there's the other side that I mentioned briefly, is the whole journey of understanding and the differences in saving it and then just living with it, which seems to be the case here. It's pretty amazing, by the way, to see the little kids and everybody just opening a wallet and creating an invoice and boom, just do it.
it just works.
It just works. It's, again, I know we use this word a lot, but it really is magic. The first time it happens, it's very special. And that's one of the things we're trying to solve for Mexico.
So I'm curious, because this has been like an ongoing debate and kind of like struggle of custodial versus non-custodial, and you know, to date, most of the non-custodial options, the user experience is just inferior. I mean, that's the especially the onboarding. So when people onboard, are they like needing to set up their keys to begin with, or do you guys have like a way that kind of like eases them into that, or how do you guys handle the onboarding?
I really like this question because my co-founder and I struggled so much back and forth into what the best solution is. Yeah, to be fully transparent, the initial version of our wallet did force users to go through the whole, you have to save your seed phrase and too many warnings, which, you know, as Bitcoiners, we thought this is the right path.
Yeah.
But one thing we did notice as we were onboarding people was that the point of friction was a little too high.
Yeah,
And
they just stop. They're just
they
like,
just stop. You're right.
forget it. This is too complicated.
It is.
Like, yeah.
It is. And Roy, the CEO of Breeze, he talks about this. Remove all the points of friction and then reintroduce it later. So that's something we have changed. Originally, again, full disclosure, we had 3 disclaimers. The disclaimers have a text this big of what, you know, Bitcoin is and why it's important to save your keys. Then, hey, I'm about to show you 12 words. You have to write these words. They're really important. Anyone that has them has access to your funds. So it's already scary, right? Then, okay, write them down. You cannot screenshot or record.
Well, that's because everybody wants to do is screenshot them.
Yes.
They're like, yeah.
And as soon as so we have this feature in the app where if you screenshot it, it resets. Like we don't let you screenshot it. We don't let you record it, which it sounds really nice. It's very cypherpunk. But again, for just
for the people that are like, what? Why are you making it so hard? Yeah.
So we did learn that. That was a lesson we learned early on. So we removed that. What we do now is pretty much plug and play. But once you reach an X amount of sats, which is about 2,000, not many, but we're giving away free sats.
Yeah.
And at that point, they can withdraw into their wallet and use. We do have a disclaimer. Hey, you haven't set up a seed phrase. Let me tell you what that is. And we're going to do it basically until you complete that process. So far, the reception has been much better. We don't have all the data to determine is this the best path, but we did learn from that original experience of this is really scary. Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
And I think the first person, going back to family, the first person that made that comment was my mother-in-law, who knows knows Bitcoin, has bought some, and wanted to support and say, I want to use your app. So, you know, gets into the whole thing. I had to walk her through the seed phrase. This is when we still had the point of friction at a high degree. And she was able to complete it. And she did say, this is scary, but let me ask you a question. And this was a good, powerful point that I felt clicked without me having to explain. She said, so whatever I have here is mine, right? Yep. I said, no one can touch it. No one needs to know how much it is. You don't need to ask for anyone to use it. She says, really? And I think the exact, or maybe I'm paraphrasing, she said something like, every American should do this. and I think I called my wife, like, hey, your mom, I think she's on board. She gets it. So that's one of the things we're trying to address. There's still, again, Mike, so much work to do, not just from the onboarding, but then the licensing, which for Mexico specifically, it would allow our users to connect their Mexican peso account into the app, which is what Bitso has right now. That allows just for everything's easier payments, easier transfers. Right now, sure, we can send Bitcoin to Mexican bank accounts, but there's still other things that are limited. And as a startup, I mean, we're okay with it. We're really fortunate to have a group of people behind us that believe in our mission, believe in our thesis of cultural onboarding, and the path we're taking to make every Mexican a Bitcoiner.
So I'm curious, I had heard that there was, and I don't really know the Mexican market, but somebody that we had on the podcast was talking about that there's a super app that I believe Salinas is involved in that has incorporated Bitcoin. I don't know, when we were talking, that was the plan, and then I never really followed up on it. Is that something that exists right now? And do
It-
you
it
know
does.
anything about that?
Yes, I do. I actually have a good relationship with Grupo Salinas, and I actually had a meeting with them. I was in their office about 2-3 weeks ago. We talked about this. So the super app that you're talking about is BAS,
Okay.
and
yeah.
they do have some functionality to it. One of the challenges they've had is it actually has too much. Like when they say super app, it really is. I forgot the name of the. There's a Chinese app that has everything on it. I forgot right now, but it's so much that
Like,
it's
yeah. WeChat or
yes,
yeah.
it's WeChat.
Yeah.
So it has everything, video and streaming and taxi, and it's just too much. And one of the things we talked about, that's something I guess, yeah, we'll announce at a later time some work we're doing with this group, with Grupo Salinas, but is the fact that the onboarding and the use of the app for Bitcoin needs to be just more direct, just make it fun, make it friendly. As of right now, the functionality they have, it's still kind of hidden in the back, but it does work. It does work. And what they're doing in Mexico is, to be honest, is very important. There's still the regulatory aspects of it,
Yeah.
so they don't have the whole suite of services either. So there's opportunities for companies like us to exist and collaborate.
Interesting. So, how much are you guys focusing on the Mexican market versus like everywhere else? And are the other countries that you're rolling? If it's 31, then obviously you're going beyond just Latin America. So where are you guys focused, and what kind of determined where you guys released?
So Mexico is our primary market. I mean, percentage-wise, when we sit down and write our priorities, right now it's 85%
Okay.
focused on Mexico. The rest, because of collaborations we have with other Bitcoin companies, is mainly for the game. So this quarter or throughout this quarter, we'll be announcing a couple of collaboration cards from other Bitcoin companies that want to be featured. There's going to be a call to action, so we want to make it fun, and it will also help their cause of
Yeah.
what they're doing for education. But yeah, the main focus is Mexico, with future plans in LATAM. We still have to prove a lot to ourselves, to our investors, to the community. So having opportunities like this, for example, to just sit down and talk, I think it's very valuable, because there's the likelihood of having someone that listens to the podcast reach out and say, "Hey, I have some feedback," or "Hey, I want to help." It's always very, very amazing. Speaking of Max and Stacy, they at one point, going back to the Keiser report, they had me on once. We didn't have an app,
Okay.
but I was still saying, "Oh yeah, I'm building something in Bitcoin." We didn't have anything. It was the idea of
Yeah.
we're going to build in Bitcoin. So I think Stacy said, "Hey, you should come on the show, and let's do some an interview and talk about what you want to build." So they really made that push of entrepreneurship too, right? And from that conversation, from that, I guess, podcast at the time, so many opportunities opened up from messages that even today continue to expand into our vision in Mexico, which is, again, very challenging. It's a very big country,
Yeah.
130 million people in the country, and then another 30, maybe 25 in the U.S.
And it's interesting because it's an economic like powerhouse for the region, but still so cash based versus other places, and still the economy there is really still dominated by informal businesses. And I have a number of Mexican friends, and even them, they wrestle with this like, you don't want to get above a certain size, because then you're kind of pushed into the formal sector, and the taxes and everything are pretty challenging. So most of them kind of just operate under that level.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see what role Bitcoin will play in that economy, that type of economy, as it allows people to have digital payments with still maybe keeping their informal status to some degree.
It sounds like you actually you understand a little bit of the Mexican economy. It is very cash based still. Without disclosing names, you'd be surprised of the people in government that understand Bitcoin and see the importance of it. But I truly, and this is my opinion, I could be really wrong. My take on Mexico really adopting Bitcoin, forget legal tender, just like really embracing it, is going to happen after the US. I think just the neighbor situation, the commercial relationship, and historically the power that the US has over Latam, but Mexico, it's strong enough that there's still going to be a big impact into the decisions that are made here.
Yeah.
Not as
When you say here, you mean the U.S.
Sorry, in the US, yeah. El Salvador was in the minds of certain people in the Mexican government as a very admirable, even, I think literally the word that was used, an admirable experiment.
Yeah.
With the vision of, could we even do this in Mexico? But I think it's going to depend a lot on U.S. regulatory decision making. I really do.
It's been funny with my Mexican friends, hearing them talk about El Salvador and them knowing that I was down here, because historically, like, Mexicans kind of look down on other Central American countries. It was like, we're up here, they're kind of down here, and so it was very interesting to see how, like, on board they were with Bukele, and like, we need somebody like Bukele, and all of a sudden it was like El Salvador's like status like rose up. Where historically, like in any like Mexican television show, the only time it's they mentioned El Salvador, it was like, some assassins from El Salvador, like, were part of the drug cartel, brought them up to take somebody out or something. That was always like the narrative. But now I feel like, even when I'm talking to people from there, that's like, oh, Salvador, we need somebody like that. It's so interesting to see how that's even changed the perception of Mexicans of El Salvador.
It's incredible to see, obviously, from the Bukele, just the Bukele piece is gigantic. I mean, but something else I've noticed, Mike, and you've been living here for a long time. Salvadorans are very good people.
Yeah.
Just every time I've been here, I feel like I make a new friend. Not even a Bitcoiner, just hanging out with the drivers, Uber drivers, or just the taxi drivers, merchants. People are very kind. You can tell that there's the feeling of hope. And that doesn't just happen overnight, unless you have a Bukele that makes some tough choices. And I know there's a whole piece of the humanitarian, and I get it. But I think, of course, he talks about this in front of United Nations, when he says it's so easy to criticize decisions when you're sitting in, $1 million homes, and, you're fighting for rights. But the things we have to deal with here in El Salvador, it's not just something that you just execute and happens. There has to be follow-up. There has to be a continuation of all the work we've done. And the decisions they've been tough. Yeah. But
I don't think it could have. There's been so many past governments that tried to do crackdowns, but they did it halfway. And so it actually a lot of times made things worse, where I think to really, like, it was one of those things, like, if you're going to do it, you need to come in with overwhelming force and actually, like, cut off the pipeline of youth to joining the gangs. You have to, like, make it so severe that nobody wants to have anything to do with the gangs. Because before, they were recruiting new members faster than they could arrest and put people in jail. So you were actually just increasing the overall number. So even now, when they talk about the injustices, and that's not for the people that have been caught up, that are maybe innocent, and even that is a very nuanced thing, because people think it's black and white. It's not. There's varying degrees that people were involved in the gangs, and some of them, it was like they're forced into it. They joined or they helped the gangs because they feared for their lives. And so, are they really, like, culpable for that? Is that something they should be punished for? So there's this, it's very, very complicated, but it's not this black and white where you could know all the facts about a case. And if there was 10 of us, we would have 10 different opinions if that person was guilty or not. Should they be punished? Should they be in jail? Should they be free? And so I think, rather than tying themselves up in knots, they just had to come in and say, hey, we're going to, like, clean this up. We're going to start fresh. There's going to be collateral damage, and that's unfortunate. But you look at just since they did this, the tens of thousands of youth who would have joined the gang that haven't because of that. So it's not just the lives of the general population that have been transformed. You've kept all these kids out of the gangs, literally probably 100,000 by this point of what would have entered the gang. So I think people need to look at the bigger picture and see just how remarkable it's been, and how many lives have been transformed because of the decisions. Now, of course, we should always try if there's injustices that have happened or there's people that are in jail that shouldn't be, we want to fight for those people, but you've got to look at the bigger picture.
So I'm curious, because you were here before, way before Bukele. What are some things that you've noticed besides that have made an impact? Or did you feel safe?
I felt safe. I mean, I'm just wired a little differently. I don't have a fear gene, I think, which sometimes gets me in trouble. But also as foreigners, you were kind of protected and off limits because so much of the crime was extortion and it was kind of accepted by the Salvadoran population as kind of like paying your taxes. And so they would kind of go along with it, where Americans are known for fighting back and, reporting people and having this sense of like moral indignation, about it. And so they were just not worth the hassle to extort in general. And if, the way they would enforce this would be by like killing people. If you killed a foreigner, the repercussions were much more. So in general, I felt safe during that time, but you could sense the fear all the time. People didn't go out at night, and it really held back the economy because nobody wanted to start a business, because that was how you got extorted if you had your own business. So we'd see people start up, and then all of a sudden they were doing well, and you're like, and then they just disappear, and you're like, you see them, and they're like, what happened? They're like, oh, it wasn't worth it. I was getting extorted so much that I was better off just going and getting a menial job somewhere. And so it held back the economy. And then the other crazy thing, when we moved here, it's like you would try to find a business, and you're like, where is this business? And there's no signs up. They'd be back a lot of times in gated communities that you had to like let the guards let you in. You're like, there was all these friction points, but they're like, no, we can't advertise because then the gangs know that we're here. They're going to extort us. So imagine trying to start a business where you can't even let people know. It's like a secret where you are, how much that held things back. So since that's been cleared up, you just see, people are going out more, their whole sense of like freedom with letting their kids, a lot of people would keep their kids from going on to school because that's where their kids would get recruited for the gangs. And so, or even just traveling on the bus was dangerous. So you have that whole aspect, but then you also have how much it was holding the economy back. It was this huge tax on the economy.
So speaking of the security too, or the safety, we had an opportunity. I came with a big group, family and friends, and I had never seen the public library and the city center, and we went it was pretty late. It was probably past 10 p.m. and we felt safe, well lit. And one of the things people have mentioned is that specific region or that specific zone was actually one of the most dangerous in the city.
That you never would have gone there.
Never.
Like, never.
Yeah, so
in fact, my wife and I only went there for the first time like a week ago because there was a graduation ceremony for Cubo Plus that Stacy invited us to. But just still in our minds from the past, we're like,
is it still safe? Yeah.
It's and not even the safety issue, but it used to be just like so crammed with vendors and stalls that just trying to drive down the streets, literally your mirrors would be like banging into things on your car, and it was just a stressful nightmare just driving. And so when we went down there, we were like, wait, is this the same place? We don't even recognize it. Everything's like cleaned up, cleared out. They built a specific, kind of multi-level market for all the vendors to go to. So they've been able to free up that whole area. So it's not just the safety issue. It's the making it more orderly and a place where the public can enjoy rather than a place that, every square inch is occupied.
I didn't know about the market. as you were saying this, I have a question because you're a builder yourself, not just businesses, but what's it like to, for me, I appreciate when someone downloads the app and uses it, and I, there's this feeling of purpose, not just proud, but there's purpose
Yeah.
in it. So for you guys, Chimbera and you guys that started this year, what does it feel like to have even, someone like me come in and say, hey, Mike, you a couple of years ago were kind enough and friendly enough. And just like me, there's so many cases of people building and now have my family here and just loving the place. What does it feel like to hear that from something you guys started?
Yeah, I mean it's surreal. It's surreal to see. I mean, just when we were at the Plan B conference the other day, seeing the people that had come in from around the world, and earlier that week we spoke at a group of 80 Italian investors that had like come in, and so just thinking that we played a small role in like all of this like coming to El Salvador and how different the country is now versus then. It really, yeah, it's humbling in that you feel like, wow, it's amazing that we can be part of something that's been so transformative.
That's cool. I have a love for the country, and I think now my family does too. Something I didn't mention, we have an entity in El Salvador too.
Okay,
So we have
awesome.
we have YoPaki El Salvador, and there will be more things to come for that. We have a Salvadoran legal team that's amazing. They were actually speakers at the conference as well, and yeah, man, this is just awesome. Being here is incredible.
So what's your guys' trajectory for the wallet? Do you guys, and I don't know what your what is public or not, but what's your long-term goal of seeing happening? Obviously, there's a lot of different wallets out there, and so the way that you guys are using the social engineering with the game is something unique. Obviously, your connections to the Mexican market gives you kind of a unique perspective. But what do you see? What role do you see YoPaki playing?
Yeah. So roadmap wise, we were pretty fortunate. Recently, we came off of an accelerator based out of New York. It's called Wolf, run by Nine.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. So yeah, would love to hear what that experience was like and what that program's like and how it benefited you guys.
So NIDIG, which is owned by Stone Ridge owns NIDIG, and they all started a program called Wolf that is focused on Bitcoin and Lightning companies. And it's a 2-month program, and it's in person, by the way. So basically,
You're in New York.
You're in New York for 2 months, working on the 64th floor of the Vanderbilt 1 building, which is an impressive view of its own. But the cool thing about, there's many things.
And so I'm just curious, so is this something you apply to be a part of, and then do you pay to be a part of, or do they take equity, or how does that work to participate?
Those are great questions. So it is very competitive because they take teams from all over the world, and the application process is you apply. There's a sequence of interviews with different members of NIDIG and Wolf. They have the decision committee based on where you are in your journey. Do you have an MVP? Do you have a plan? The idea of what they do is not just you have a cool idea and that's it, you're in. It's you have the cool idea. Do you have the right team? If you don't, maybe you're still a great candidate. For us, for example, we actually had applied by recommendation of someone in the space. And we actually didn't make it the first time. So we thought, we got to keep building. The first time we applied, we didn't have a fully functioning app. We didn't have the Lotería part. And then we participated last year, it was last year, in an event organized by Pleb Lab called Top Builder. So think of a hackathon, but instead of a weekend thing, it's a 3-month thing.
Oh, wow.
So, and this one is fully remote, but the Top Builder competition, which there's one going on right now, basically gets founders into the idea generation, and then how much do you progress given a 3-month period with workshops and different opportunities in the space. The finals for that event happened in Austin, Texas, during the South by Southwest week. So it's in March. And last
Was it actually part of the South by Southwest, or is just kind of like a side thing?
It's a we call it a part of, but it's a side.
Yeah.
It's a hey, South by Southwest is happening. Well, Bitcoiners have a voice too,
Yeah.
so we do it at the same time. So Unchained and the Bitcoin Commons have own separate events, and the finals included a presentation pitching to investors and a crowd of mainly Bitcoiners and a few members of the press. And our team was the winner of that competition. So when that happened, it trickled other follow-ups. One of the judges for this competition was Kelly Brewster, he's running the Wolf program, and he did say, "Hey, you should reach out." And I said, "Well, we already applied. No, you should reach out again." So time passes, and eventually, we need funding to really scale this. So we submit an application again. He gets in a phone call and he says, "Well, nothing's guaranteed, but you've done your part. So now the process is, if you get selected, you'll get a phone call from me." And they do invest in the company. They do take a percentage, small equity. One of the most valuable pieces, it's not just being in New York, but it's the accountability of, you have to have deliverables on a weekly basis. I feel like
gives you some structure and some
Definitely.
guidance from people who've gone this route
definitely.
before.
And I don't know if you've heard much from the program itself.
I mean, I've just heard people mention it, but I never heard any of the details. So yeah,
Okay.
that's what I love, hearing the nuts and bolts of what it involves.
Oh yeah, I'd love to share. So yeah, they fly those people that get selected. They fly us to New York. They have a place for us to stay for the 2 months. They want us to stay in the office as many hours as possible. So they feed us. They have a comfortable desk with computers and the whole thing. And we have weekly conversations, workshops, deliverables, strategy sessions.
And obviously you're networking and meeting a lot of other people that are on this similar path.
Correct. That's very valuable in itself too. We connect with VCs that are in the space. One of the harder things about the program, and they know this, is challenging you to the thesis that you have.
Yeah.
Tell me why you think this is going to work. Because I'm going to tell you 10 reasons why it's not going to work. And you have to navigate through all those challenges. Then there's the regulatory aspect. A good number of the companies that make it into the accelerator, a lot of times are not following certain regulatory laws. So there's also that direction of, well, if you really want to exist, and philosophically we do align with the whole cypherpunk movement, but you're running a business. So have you considered A, B, and C options? I think one of the pushes they really have during the program is, like as you said, structure, but narrow down your vision and have a clear roadmap of what's next. At the conclusion of the program by itself, there's a called pitch night. So every week we actually have a weekly rehearsal of our presentation, and that changes a lot from week one to pitch night. In fact, a lot of the times maybe it changes 100%. The content, the poise, the words being used. During this pitch night, it gets shared with investors. So that's been really positive because of what you mentioned, the networking opportunities, also the craft of what we're doing, to be able to communicate it. For us, for example, in being in Mexico, Latam, but mainly Mexico, one of the things we found out too is that we are a Bitcoin company first, philosophically, but in Mexico, it's not looked at as a very optimistic thing for the regulators.
Yeah.
So we're more of a fintech company that has Bitcoin services and products. So those little things.
Just knowing how to phrase things
Yes.
to like stay under the radar when you need to, and be able to be deemed acceptable when you need to. Yeah.
and those things we didn't know.
Yeah.
I think, because I've shared this with other friends and investors too. The most valuable thing about the program is not just I know what I'm running as a business. It's truly understanding all the bits and pieces, because I mean, to be honest, after the competition at Top Builder, I walked into Wolf thinking, I know what I'm doing, and now I just have to scale it. So I need help from investors,
Yeah.
and that's it. And you walk in, and there's a big humble moment of, I don't know anything. I have to rethink my whole strategy. And I'm joking, because obviously there's pushback.
Yeah, yeah.
There's, hey, you should do this, and there's times where as a founder you have to say, I see where you're going, but on this one, that's a non-negotiable because it's part of the core of what I'm trying to build. But yeah, the most valuable part is you think you know what you're doing, just you wait. It's different out there, especially for Bitcoin companies or fintech in Mexico. It's just very, very, very different. And for example, let's talk about the game Lotería. We love it, and it has really good reception, but we also understand that it has a life cycle. Although it's been around for hundreds of years
Yeah.
now, really, in terms of user experience, maybe after 2.5 years, we need to do something else. So this is the time where we're already starting to think, hey, what comes next for onboarding? You asked the question of roadmap. Right now, the big piece we have is Mexican users being able to receive pesos from Lightning transactions. Again, it's only happening in Mexico. In the next couple of months, once we get the license, and this is, again, spicy take or not, giving our customers the ability to have a debit card or a card associated to the app where they will have 3 different currencies: Mexican peso balance, Bitcoin balance, and US dollar balance. This is once we have the license. Once we have that, a customer will have a virtual card, and they can create as many as they want. So they can save for a trip, or they can use it for maybe for a kid that's going to university, so start a fund that way too. And it will also come in plastic and metal cards. And now those cards will take out of the Bitcoin balance, the Mexican peso balance, or the US balance. And if they don't have enough in one, it automatically converts to the second one. One of the questions we've had to respond to is, wait, but if you offer that service, you're kind of going back to the fiat part of it. And this is true. We understand that. The thing about Mexico specifically is to onboard people into Bitcoin, it's not just going to be through a game, as much as we love it. It's not just the game, and it's not just the Bitcoin number goes up. We have to offer services that people are used to for making payments for electric bill, for their tacos, for similar services that you guys already have here. So by doing that through the fiat rails, that's how we envision eventually saying, well, you've seen what your Bitcoin has done. Why don't you allocate more into it?
Yeah.
And continue building on top of that.
Have you guys one product that I would love to see be out there?
Let me take a note here.
that I haven't seen anybody do yet is, obviously you have these, basically they're prepaid debit cards that are, like you're explaining, that are converting people's Bitcoin into fiat to be able to pay with Visa or MasterCard or whatever the traditional rails. And I understand the need for that, even though that's not ideal and not what we want to see. We want to see Bitcoin circulating. But I would love to see, and then also we have the, the Bolt cards or the tap cards that are out there with people being able to load sats, and everything's denominated in sats, paid in sats, and they can pay with people that have that. I would love to see those combined into one card. So for Bitcoiners that, like, when they can pay for Bitcoin, they can just tap their card and pay directly with Bitcoin. But when that option isn't available, they can access, the traditional rails, as kind of a bridge thing. So
Nice.
yeah, that's
Yep. So in about I'll check back with you in about a month, because there's something in the works. We're still testing, and it's through a partnership too. It wouldn't be our infrastructure, but there's someone in the space that's building that for Mexico.
okay.
They have to figure out a few regulatory things too, but it's in the works.
Yeah.
We've been playing with the API, so hopefully I have a good update, and if not, we're gonna keep trying, but cannot make any official announcement on that.
Well,
But I like where your head's at.
when you get that dialed in, we'll have to do another show, do an update. Yeah.
I like where your head's at, Mike.
Because I think that we need to see, I mean, There's the ideological, like, never going to use fiat, and you know, that's kind of where I like to be, but I also am pragmatic, and I understand that, you know, especially for most people, if you're not you know, a committed Bitcoiner, you're going to just do whatever's easiest. And so I think we need to bridge those two, that, you know, gives people the tools that it's actually easier if people are just taking Bitcoin to use one of those tap cards. It happens right away and it's so seamless. But, you know, a lot of times they don't have the capability to do that. And so they need to use Visa or MasterCard.
100%. And I don't know, because everybody has their time frames on that. In your optimistic vision of where we head, you know, for Bitcoin use, when do you see that happening?
I mean, I feel like in the next year or two, I feel, you know, and I think it's going to happen in different time frames in different places. I think in El Salvador, it would be one of the first places to happen, just because we're further along in that journey. But, you know, a lot of it is, you know, the network effect of, you know, the more places that have the ability to receive using the tap technology. And now with a lot of the phones, you don't even need, you know, there's like Fernando who's built the Bitcoinized machines that are great, work really great with that. But also a lot of the newer phones have the ability that you can just have, you know, just do that with a Bitcoin wallet on the phone and have somebody tap the phone. So I think as that becomes more and more common, we'll see people gravitate towards that.
That's super bullish. For El Salvador, I would probably agree with you. With Mexico, that's
yeah. No, I know you guys are still like early days, but I feel like in Mexico there's this unique thing because so many of the businesses are still cash based and they're not taking credit cards because that kind of forces them to formalize. I feel like there's this unique market opportunity there.
100%. And I don't know if you've heard this. Mexico's it's such a strange beast financially. This is definitely a hot take, but I'll just say this one. Mexico is not as unbanked as sometimes we like to share.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've been guilty of that too. But in Mexico, I don't know if you're familiar with a store called Oxxo. It's like it's like 7-Eleven.
Okay.
And there's about 20,000 of those in the country. I mean, they're everywhere. So every corner you'll find a 7-Eleven Oxxo store.
How do you spell it?
OXXO.
Okay. Yeah. I've seen the
You've
signs.
seen- okay.
Yeah.
Any Mexican can walk into an Oxxo, and within 20 minutes, they can walk out with an app and a Visa debit card.
Yeah.
Which it's not exactly a bank account, but it does give them access to payment rails. So, I mean, it's very different than the rest of LATAM. And I know it doesn't apply for the rest of Latin America, but for Mexico, the challenge of getting people into the banking system is not as difficult. Now, banking services, sure, like investing into securities and T-bills, which Mexicans love doing that because it has been given a pretty consistent 11% APR on investment. Yeah, they don't have access to that, sure. But just like a Visa debit card and an app, that's very, very...
I think I'm speaking more on the small business side. From
Like
what I've seen is a lot of them don't accept those type of payments because then they have to formalize and report everything.
Like a structure
and so I feel like there's a lot of mom and pop businesses that dominate the economy in Mexico that don't take cards, that don't take these things because they're trying to stay under the radar. And it's I mean, you look at the Mexican economy and the taxes like are notionally like average or high, but the actual amount collected in tax revenue is very low because there's so much informality
that is very true.
in the economy. And so I feel like
Yeah.
Mexicans would kind of gravitate towards like, oh, here's a way we can like have digital payments. But
That's what we're hoping. One idea, and this is not for probably Q3. One idea would be to test on markets, as you mentioned. They're everywhere, and if you've been to Mexico, not just the city, but anywhere, you'll see those cash payments. Yeah, I think there's definitely a huge opportunity for that. Yeah, and the work is
even
massive
when
on
you
that.
look at the statistics for Mexico, like the the GDP of Mexico, you're like, I feel like that is wrong. Like they're, you know, it's like a fraction of the U.S. in the official statistics, but I think so much of what happens goes unreported and unaccounted for, and the economy is actually much bigger than the official statistics because of that.
You're 100% right. I was having this conversation with a friend who's Mexican that lives in Mexico, and specifically the comment she made was the moms that take care of all of this, all the moms that run the taco stands and the fruit stands and they're everywhere. So massive opportunity there. We hope we can help those types of transactions. Definitely, if it's not us, someone's gonna do it because Bitcoin is there. So it's gonna be a matter of really what you said, the user experience, and then eventually just the ease of access for most people. The technology is there. The infrastructure is built out. Everybody has. We know this, and you guys know this here too. Everybody has a cell phone. Wallets exist. We have to make them easier to onboard. And yeah, I mean, we hope we can be part of that change in the country.
Sweet. Well, I think that's a good thing to wrap up on. I don't know if there's anything else that we didn't cover that you wanted to
that was
get in
awesome.
there?
Yeah, that was great. I loved sharing this. I think it's full circle, very, very special moment to be here.
Well, I love that El Salvador has had this impact on this company that's in Mexico, and I hear that so often from people that are like, and it's just crazy to think that this little tiny country, something happened here, is like spurred all this economic activity kind of around the world.
It's amazing.
It's
keep
crazy.
doing your thing because you guys are killing it.
So how can people download and check out the wallet? How can they follow you? I think you mentioned you guys have already closed the seed round. Is that correct?
We are pre-seed.
Pre-seed?
Pre-seed. We still have a few conversations in the back, but yeah, as far as pre-seed,
so if people are interested
Yes.
in that, they can reach out to you.
They can reach out
directly. And,
our website's pretty simple. It's YoPaki.com, and on Twitter we're under @YoPaki_. My Twitter handle is Francisco BTC. We do have the app live on iOS, Android this week. There's a wait list for that, so there's going to be a lot of people happy about that. We've been getting asked when Android is coming, and really excited to be sharing this. YoPaki, by the way, is a name that comes from the Aztec language.
Okay.
Nahuatl.
That's why it didn't. I'm like, it doesn't seem Spanish at all. Yeah.
And it means. In I guess the shorter way to describe it would be the pursuit of happiness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love the logo and all of it. So
thanks, Mike.
well, yeah, we'll have to have you back on maybe next year after this conference and hear about all the amazing things you guys are doing.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, we'll be back.
All right.
Thank you.